She said I had no future, that loving me was like loving a dead-end road. I remember standing there with tears in my eyes as she packed her things and left me for a man who could actually afford dinner. But what she didn't know is that I wasn't broke. I was building. 18 months later, I bought the company she worked for, and when she saw me sitting in the CEO's chair, she couldn't even speak. I didn't say a word. I just smiled and signed the paper that made her my employee. Act 1. When love felt real, the struggle. Before the storm. I wasn't rich. I didn't come from money. I didn't have a fancy car, expensive shoes, or a luxury watch. All I had was a dream, a wild, burning dream that kept me alive when nothing else did. My name is Ion, 24 years old, fresh out of university, no job, no safety net, just one idea in my head, and a laptop that ran only when it wanted to. I wanted to build something, a platform for freelance creators, something that would give voice to the millions of unheard artists out there. But this story ain't about that dream. This story is about her. Ilena. I met Ilena at a co-working cafe in Karachi. She worked in HR, typing away on her corporate laptop, sipping green tea with almond milk. I was in the corner, trying to fix a bug in my code while pretending to afford a second cup of chai. She had the kind of smile that made the room a little quieter, confident, radiant, and completely out of my league. One day, she asked me for the Wi-Fi password. I gave her the code, and my heart, though she didn't know it yet, we started talking more and more. She found my startup idea inspiring, said she admired ambition, especially the kind that comes from scratch. Your eyes light up when you talk about your dreams, she once said, and I love that. God. I held onto that sentence like it was oxygen. She didn't care that I took her to roadside dhabas instead of fancy restaurants. She said it was real, that it reminded her of simpler days. We'd sit under streetlights, on my rickety old bike, eating bun kebabs, talking about the future. She'd laugh at my terrible jokes, hold my hand when I doubted myself. For the first time in a long time, I thought, maybe I'm enough, just as I am. But reality is cold, and love can be temporary. My startup wasn't going anywhere. Investors kept ghosting me. One even told me, you have the vision, but not the look. You're too rough, too raw. I worked day and night, built prototypes, designed mock-ups. Sometimes, I'd sleep on the floor with my laptop charging next to me like a baby monitor. I thought she understood. I thought she believed in me. But slowly, she started changing. It started with late replies. Then came the excuses. I'm just really busy with work this week. My phone died. I was out with colleagues. Just a team dinner. I didn't want to doubt her. I didn't want to be that guy. So I smiled through the silence and pretended like everything was okay. One evening, I waited outside her office for an hour, holding a bouquet I bought with borrowed money. I thought maybe we could talk, maybe reconnect. She came out, but she wasn't alone. A man stepped out with her, tall, confident, driving a BMW. She didn't see me, or maybe she did, but chose not to. They laughed as he opened the car door for her, and in that moment, something in me cracked. Still, I didn't confront her. I waited for her to tell me the truth. She did, single quotes. Days passed. The distance grew louder. Then one night, she came to my place, unannounced. She looked beautiful, but distant, like she was already gone. I made chai, nervous, excited, stupid. She didn't drink it. She sat across from me and said, Ion, you're a good person, really, but I can't do this anymore. I asked why. She hesitated. Because I need security. I need stability. You're always busy, always broke, always stressed. I'm not blaming you, but I can't build a life with someone who's still figuring himself out. Still figuring myself out. She didn't even say sorry. She just stood up, picked up her purse, and left, just like that. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there, numb. The chai got cold, the room felt smaller, my heart shattered in the quietest way possible. That night, I walked to the park near my apartment and sat on the bench where we once planned our dream house. I looked up at the stars and whispered, why wasn't I enough? Over the next few days, I stopped coding, stopped shaving, stopped talking to my friends. I scrolled through her pictures, replayed her voice notes, watched her laugh in videos I filmed when we were happy. And then, one night, I saw her Instagram story. She was at a rooftop dinner, wine glass in hand, same guy, same BMW. The caption read, "Two new beginnings. My heart didn't break this time. It burned with pain, burned with betrayal, burned with a new kind of energy I had never felt before." That was the night I stopped being Ion, the dreamer. And became Ion, the builder. Act 2. The dark grind disappearing to rebuild in silence. When the world gives up on you, there are two choices: break down or break through. The day I saw her new beginnings post, the rooftop wine, the businessman, the smile that used to be mine, something inside me shattered. But it didn't fall apart. It sharpened. For the next week, I didn't talk to anyone, not my friends, not my family, not even myself. I turned off my notifications. I deleted Instagram. I let the world go silent. I looked around my tiny apartment, cracked walls, buzzing ceiling fan, cold tea on the table. The same room she once said felt like home. Now it just felt like a cage I needed to burn. I took a piece of paper and wrote 3 words on it: die or build. And then, without a second thought, I erased every distraction in my life. No Netflix, no calls, no fun, no excuses. Just code, cold coffee, and revenge in silence. Day by day, I disappeared. I turned my phone into airplane mode. Permanently. I started working 14, 16, sometimes 20 hours a day. No breaks, no birthdays, no parties. The world celebrated Eid. I celebrated uptime. They posted pictures of beach trips. I posted logs on GitHub. My days were brutal. Wake up, cold shower, black coffee, read 1 chapter of a business book, work until my back ached, sleep 3 to 4 hours, repeat. I didn't even care about making millions. I just wanted one thing: to never feel that powerless again. And slowly, something began to change. I started solving problems faster. People on Twitter began noticing my product. Beta users gave feedback. I implemented it before they even finished typing. My nights were lit not by moonlight, but by screen glow and ambition. I didn't eat well. I didn't sleep well, but I was building something beautiful. 3 months in, I launched my MVP. To paying customers. That's it. But to me, it felt like 10,000. Then came 10 users. Then 30. I launched on Product Hunt, got featured in the top 5 of the day. A newsletter shouted me out. A podcast invited me on. And for the first time in years, my inbox was full of praise, not rejection. But I stayed silent. No social media comeback. No Instagram flexing. No motivational quotes. I wasn't doing this for applause. I was doing this for closure. Then came the turning point. An investor had cold emailed 18 months ago replied. He said he'd been watching my growth quietly. Said he liked my grit. Said I reminded him of himself. He offered me seed funding. $300,000 straight to my startup's bank account. No questions. No pitch deck. Just belief. That day, I cried, but not for her, for myself. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a failure pretending to be a winner. I was becoming. I hired a small team -3 people who worked like animals. We scaled fast. We launched features. Weekly, we onboarded dozens of creators from across Asia, Europe, even Africa. The platform grew. So did I moved to a better apartment. A proper desk, a comfortable chair, And finally, a laptop that didn't die during Zoom calls. But still, I didn't post online. Still no Instagram. Still no stories. Still no selfies. Because I wasn't done yet. And then one day, I got a call from the investor again. He had just acquired a mid-sized HR tech company. They were restructuring, looking for someone to lead a digital transformation. I almost said no, but then he said the name of the company, and my breath froze. It was the same company Eileen worked for. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. I didn't feel anything. Just silence. Pure, perfect, cold silence. He asked if I'd be open to an acquisition partnership, where my platform would be folded into their tools, and I'd be given equity and leadership. I didn't even blink before saying yes, but not because of her, because I deserved to be in that chair now. In the weeks that followed, my lawyers drafted papers. We negotiated terms. I read every page, signed every document. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post a thing. I just waited for the day I'd walk into that building. Not as her boyfriend, not as a beggar, but as the man who owned the keys to everything she thought I'd never be. Act 3: The face-off. When she saw me again. Sometimes. Revenge and loud. It doesn't need shouting, screaming, or violence. The deepest revenge is silence. A silence so powerful, it echoes forever inside the one who betrayed you. It was Monday morning. Normal for most, but not for me. Because today, I was walking into the building that once represented everything I wasn't. And now, I owned it. The car pulled up quietly. No flashy entrance, no entourage, just me, a black suit, polished shoes, and the calm confidence of a man who had been reborn. I stepped out. The building hadn't changed. The same glass doors, same rotating lobby lights, same smell of overused air freshener. But I had changed. I wasn't the same Ion who waited outside this building with flowers. I was the man who now signed the checks. Here. As I walked through the entrance, the receptionist looked up. I saw her double take. First, confusion, then recognition, then fear masked behind a polite smile. "Mr. Ion," she asked hesitantly, "the boardroom is ready for you." I nodded. No smile, no emotion, just walked. I could feel it, the whispers behind me, the glances, the employees texting under the table. The vibe in the air, electric, anxious. They all knew something was happening today. As I moved past cubicles, I scanned the space, not obviously, just enough to find the face I hadn't seen in almost 2 years. And there she was. Eileen. Sitting at her desk. Typing. Focused. Until she looked up and saw me. Time stopped. I didn't blink. She didn't breathe. Her face broke, not completely, but you could see it. The crash behind the eyes, the gasp stuck in the throat. She blinked twice, like her mind couldn't process what her eyes were seeing. "Ion," she whispered. I didn't respond, just a nod, a glance, and I kept walking, straight past her. Like she was air. She stood up, tried to speak. "Wait, what are you doing here? Are you visiting someone?" I paused. Just enough, turned slightly. "No, I'm taking over." And I walked away. The boardroom was full. Executives, investors, leadership team. And now, me. The papers were on the table. The merger and acquisition documents, signed by legal. Final review pending my signature. I sat down, calm, comfortable, like I belonged here, because I did. "Gentlemen," I said, "let's begin." They started going through the slides. Financials, staff retention, operations. I didn't need to hear them. I had already done the math. This meeting wasn't for me. It was for them, to witness it. 30 minutes later, I stood up. "We don't need more discussion," I said. "The deal is solid. The numbers are clean. The future is aligned." I picked up the pen. And signed. Line by line. Page by page. Each stroke of ink felt like closure. Each signature, an erasure of the pain I once felt. When I finished, I closed the file, stood up, buttoned my coat, and walked to the glass wall. The entire office floor was visible from here, and there she was, still standing at her desk. Frozen. Watching. I stepped out of the boardroom, walked toward the elevator. Halfway there, I heard footsteps behind me. Ion. Ion. Wait. I turned. She stood there, hair slightly messy, voice unsure. Is this real? Are you really the new owner? I looked at her for the first time, fully, not with anger, not with sadness, just observation. She looked smaller now, not physically, just less important. The woman I once loved with every inch of my soul now felt like a faded photo, one I had outgrown. She stepped closer. Why didn't you tell me you were doing all this? Why didn't you call? I would have been proud. I tilted my head. Proud. You weren't proud when I was building it. You walked away when it wasn't convenient. You replaced me with a paycheck. She opened her mouth to respond. I raised my hand gently. Don't. You don't owe me an explanation. And I don't owe you anything either. She lowered her eyes. I was scared. I needed stability. I didn't know you'd become this. Double quotes exactly, I said quietly. You didn't believe I could. A pause. The elevator dinged behind me. I stepped in. As the doors began to close, she asked, barely loud enough to hear, Do you still hate me? I looked at her, calm, silent. No, I said. I don't hate you. I just stopped needing you. The moment I realized you never saw me as enough, the doors closed, and the silence that followed. It was everything. That was the day I forgave her, not for her, but for me, because I realized true power is never in payback. It's in peace. I didn't buy the company to destroy her. I didn't walk in to embarrass her. I just became the version of myself that no longer needed revenge. And in that version of me, she couldn't survive. Act 4. The closure, becoming the man I was meant to be. The greatest victories are the ones that heal you, not the ones that hurt others. And sometimes, the person who breaks you is also the reason you become unbreakable. The next few days after I signed that deal were quiet, not the kind of quiet you hear in an empty room, but the kind of quiet that lives inside you. After a storm has passed, the kind where the noise of doubt, heartbreak, and anger is finally gone. I sat in my new office. Same building, different view. From up here, I could see the whole city, a city that once made me feel small. Now, it looked like it belonged to me. But the strange thing, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel superior. I didn't feel like a winner. I just felt done, like I had finally put something to rest, something that lived inside me for too long. I got messages from people who had doubted me, ignored me, laughed at me. Some wanted to reconnect. Some wanted jobs. Even Elena messaged again. A long one this time. She apologized, explained everything, said she was confused, young, scared. Said she wasn't asking for another chance, just closure. And, for the first time, I believed her. But I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because that version of me, the one who needed her, didn't exist anymore. You see, people think success about proving others wrong, that revenge is the goal. But that's a lie. The real revenge is when you no longer care to prove anything to anyone, when your peace is louder than their absence, when your life becomes the answer to every doubt they ever had. So what happened after that? I built the company, grew it, gave job opportunities to people who reminded me of me. Young, broke, dreaming. I built a mentorship program, started investing in small founders. I traveled. I spoke at universities. And yes, I even bought my parents a house, but the biggest flex, I did all of that without ever needing to show off. I let my silence speak for me. And Elena, she eventually left the company, moved cities, started fresh. I heard she got married, and I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, hope she's happy. because I'm no longer that heartbroken boy she left. I'm the man who's grateful for what she taught me, that love built on convenience doesn't survive storms. But the love you build for yourself, the belief you carry when no one else does, that's what takes you beyond every betrayal. Final reflection to the audience. So if you're watching this, and someone left you when you were still building, when you were still growing, still figuring it all out, let them go. They weren't meant to see your final form. They were just one chapter, not your whole story. You don't have to take revenge. You don't need to prove anything. Just build, quietly, relentlessly. And one day, when your time comes, the world will notice. And the people who doubted you won't matter anymore, because by then, you'll have outgrown the very version of you they walked away from. Sometimes, they leave you because they can't see your future. But that doesn't mean you don't have one. It just means they were never meant to be part of it.